we've just witnessed here at Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc. Dean Malenko, perseverance, determination, like him or not, he is the Cruiserweight Champion, defeating Rey Mysterio Jr., who is every bit as much up to the task.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm referee Mark Curtis.
And I'm Mike Tenay.
And today, well, you are Mike Tenay. Let me just say.
Thank you.
You are Mike Tenay because what would be a WCW Cruiserweight match without Iron Michael?
It wouldn't be.
It would be non-existent.
Because they did not know how to call cruiserweight matches without Mike Tenay.
That's correct. That is absolutely right.
And I was totally okay with it because Mike Tenay is one of my favorite commentators of all time.
I'll say they did a better job commentating this match than if the Eddie Ray match. They actually were competent for this one.
Sure, I liked it, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was, Dusty Rhodes, Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, and they were all a part of it. But of course, Mike Tenay kind of takes the lead, and
he does. But unlike the last time, this is not a one-man show. This time, it's definitely that everyone's trying.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you think back to our Fatal 4-Way X Division Championship match that is currently ranked number 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
That was because of Mike Tenay, right? It's like Mike Tenay and Don West sell that match as such a big deal, and it is, but it helps having Mike Tenay on the other end of the microphone.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't agree more. And if you haven't figured out what we're talking about, we are talking about October 27th, 1996, a year before Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero face off at the same event. That is WCW Halloween Havoc, from Las Vegas, Nevada, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena. And we are talking about the Cruiserweight Championship match, Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio Jr.
Did you guys know that Kiss played the night before?
Was it the night before?
In the Grand?
Yeah, in the Grand. Apparently, so did the Who played there recently.
Yeah. There's going to be a Iron Mike Tyson boxing match. Why can I not think of his last name?
At one point, they just won't shut up about we have the Kiss performing last night. Later this month, we've got the Who. Who? The Who. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that tells you they would rather talk about that than the Cruiserweights.
Well, no. If you notice, any time they mention we are in the MGM Grand, you can't just say they have to say you can't say the Grand. No, the MGM Grand Arena. This is not Halloween Havoc. This is Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc. There's a lot of branding in this one.
Is this the first match that we've had emanating from Las Vegas?
I think so.
I don't think so. It could be, but something in my brain tells me that it's not.
Okay. We'll have to go back into his handy-dandy notebook eventually.
Yeah, that I have left far away from me, so I cannot pick it up at this moment in time.
I knew we should have bought those wireless microphones.
Totally my fault. I could mosey on over, but you get the point. Someone's going to tell us if we've been in Las Vegas before or not, but I feel like we have. And if I'm wrong,
well, I'll tell you
no
what.
one will be surprised.
It may not have been a hotbed for professional wrestling back then, but it sure is right now because
no kidding.
AEW goes to Vegas at least annually.
Oh yeah,
I really want to make it over there for a Double or Nothing. I mean, it'll be a lot of fun. We actually you're probably hearing this a little bit after, but as of this recording, we just watched yesterday AEW Revolution.
It was awesome.
And I know we haven't covered any AEW matches, and that's mainly because we don't want to be creatures of the moment, and we don't want to say, oh, this is so awesome because we just watched it, and it's one of the greatest matches of all time because I just watched it. But that tag team match was one of the greatest matches of all time. Oh, yeah.
Young Buck, Hangman, and Kenny Omega.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I haven't watched any AEW, and that is solely because of a later AEW crawl that we will probably do at some point in life. So I've purposely left myself out of it.
Keep it all fresh.
It is difficult.
It's going to be fun to have Spencer's genuine reactions to these matches, though.
Yeah, I'm super excited about doing it. I'm kind of like starting to get the itch about starting it because it has been so good, and I know that. And Revolution was a great show from what I gathered, and that tag team match, like you said, was the cream of the crop. So I would not be surprised if that one touches this list at some point.
And so the AEW crawl will be coming up once we hit a particular tier on our Patreon. So if you're interested in hearing about AEW crawl and hearing us go through and hearing Spencer's genuine reactions to all these
true.
AEW matches for the first time, then head over to Patreon and support us there, and we'll get there.
Yeah, and the good news is that by subscribing to Patreon, you do get the Last Mania Standing spinoff, which is so fun. We just uploaded WrestleMania 6. So we've done WrestleMania 1 through 6 so far. It's been captivating television, if nothing else. And, we get our trivia episodes. As of this recording, I am the last match standing champion.
For now.
Longest reigning?
I'm the youngest last match standing champion. That's for sure. But, we'll see what happens. Plenty of fun stuff there, and there's going to be more stuff coming, too, to Patreon. So super excited for that. But Las Vegas, Nevada is where we're at, before AEW made it cool again. A Cruiserweight Championship match. This is our first Dean Malenko match on the list. Rey Mysterio obviously has been on before, at this event before.
Yes, he has.
And Mark Curtis is the referee, like you said.
Slouchy Mark Curtis.
Slouchy. He looks like every other referee at this time period, which means he's got a mullet and a mustache.
Yep, and he's got no posture.
It was literally part of the costume. It was like, all right, well, grow out your mustache.
This is how it works.
Him, Randy Anderson, and Nick Patrick all look identical. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, if you decided you're like, hey, I'm going to go fact check these guys. I don't know if they know what they're talking about. Spencer sounds like he's particularly foolish. I am going to go to Wikipedia and see if they're right about this stuff. And if you went on Wikipedia for Halloween Havoc 1996, you would not see Mark Curtis's name. You would just see Nick Patrick and Randy Anderson. And there were more referees than that. I'm just saying.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't have to do any research because Mike Tenay told me everything I needed to know
right
about this
that.
match.
Hell yeah,
everything. Like before the match even starts, this is the fifth meeting between these two gentlemen. They're the rubber match, the last one, which ended the Great American Bash, and in a controversial fashion. I'm like, thank you, Mike. I don't have to do my research now. Like this current mask here was stolen by Rey Mysterio. That's why it's so important to him. I'm like, so he had it. Okay.
God bless Mike Tenay.
He gives us all the backstory, the things that we have to go search for hours reading up this stuff. Nope. He tells us everything we need to know.
You know what he didn't give us?
What's that?
Did you know Dean Malenko's real name is Dean Simon?
As in Simon Dean backwards.
I am not kidding you. His name is Dean Simon. So do you think Simon Dean is a rib on Dean Malenko?
Probably is, because he would have been an agent backstage.
Oh, this is so perfect. I'm so happy.
No, I don't think he's a motivational speaker or anything like that, but
the man is talented.
Very talented.
They must have thought, let's take Dean Malenko's personality and make Simon Dean wear the opposite of that.
But Simon Dean is like, hey, Simon system, yay, workout, look good, lift weights, suck in the ring.
Oh my God. Malenko was actually born into a wrestling family. His father, Boris Malenko, prominent wrestling figure. Dean actually started off as a referee in the Tampa area, and he worked briefly as a referee for WWF, believe it or not, in the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
In 94, Malenko joined ECW, where he earned the name The Shooter because he had that mat-based style resembling the UFC champion fighter Hoist Gracie, and actually people called him The Shooter because he looked like Hoist Gracie.
Oh, wow.
Which he kind of did.
Yeah. Kind of does.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I thought he was called the Shooter just because he whipped the gun out in the ring.
Excuse me? Paul making shit up again. So before leaving ECW for WCW in 95, Malenko and Eddie Guerrero had a series of incredible matches.
Widely regarded as the worst of all time. Is that true?
Terrible.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Why would you
Right.
ever watch Dean Malenko versus
Eddie
Guerrero? But yeah, if you want to check it out on the network, they have a series of great matches on ECW in 95. I mean, talk about lucky ass Pennsylvania fans getting that match.
No shit.
But this rivalry, Rey Mysterio and Dean Malenko, started in 95 when Eric Bischoff started bringing in younger, smaller talent for WCW Nitro, while Shinjiro Otani is long forgotten as the first WCW Cruiserweight champion. Most of the cruiserweights from WCW are considered some of the greatest wrestlers of all time. You have people like Dean Malenko, Jamie Noble, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero. I mean, this is wrestling royalty.
Yeah, you think about it. This is episode 31. So 2 of our 31 matches have featured specifically WCW Cruiserweight Championship matches, and I guarantee you this will not be the last one of those.
Nope.
So, I mean, it really is something special, and you can credit WCW for making, sort of this style of wrestling popular in America at this time, which is incredible.
Well, Bischoff used the cruiserweights to tell a story that wasn't big guys of 80s WWF past. This was after a while of doing nothing but washed up WWF stuff. They needed some energy. They needed to breathe some life into Nitro.
Yeah, we were tired of the Nacho Man and the Huckster, which we would get the main event.
Yeah, seriously.
Right, in this show. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
The cruiserweights, while known for having the more fast-paced, in-your-face stuff, they were very diverse, right? You want technical wrestling? Check out Malenko and Jericho. You want hard-hitting? Check out La Parka and Psychosis. But if you're looking for something you've never seen before, for some innovative offense, look no further than Rey Mysterio.
Who's that jumping off the boat?
Jumping off the boat? What? Quite possibly both the earliest and greatest feud in the WCW Cruiserweight division was Rey Mysterio versus Dean Malenko. These two just have unbelievable chemistry.
I mean, it's the Iceman versus the Mystery Man.
Well, I mean, you just think about the style that Dean Malenko brings to the table.
Yeah, you'd think they wouldn't mesh well together, but they do.
They do. It's almost like they were meant to be across the ring from each other.
Well,
fight forever.
Yeah, it's kind of, and I made this point kind of, before we started the show. I said this match is 18 minutes and 32 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of lengthy, especially for a cruiserweight match. But I think it's because of the styles that match up between Malenko and Rey Mysterio. Because I think that typically, Ray and Eddie was 12-ish minutes, right? If I remember
about
correctly.
that. It was short.
But because of the way Malenko wrestles, the 1,000 holds, he's able to ground Rey Mysterio in an interesting way. I think that they're able to balance that high flying with technical wrestling, and it's able to draw the match out more. But it makes them fit so well together,
and it makes for a very unique style of match.
Completely agree.
So after starting his career at the age of 14,
Yep.
Mysterio started working for AAA and ECW before making his way to World Championship Wrestling for his debut against none other than Dean Malenko. And that match was for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yep.
And right from the start, you can tell these guys mesh so well, like we were talking about. Mysterio being the high-flying, fast-paced, in-your-face offense, and Malenko bringing him down to the mat and slowing it down. The strategy that Malenko uses in this match and throughout their entire run is, I've got to keep this guy down. I can't let this guy jump on me.
Nope.
Because once Mysterio gets on you, he can spin around about 8 times and then throw you in any direction.
Right.
Well, he does that in this match.
He does. Malenko, he does end up retaining the championship in their first bout, but he does so having to resort to using a dirty pin. And so it sort of sets up this deal. It's just like, okay, maybe he can't beat Mysterio. In July at Bash at the Beach, Mysterio defeats longtime rival Psychosis in a number 1 contenders match, earning another shot at the Cruiserweight Championship and at Dean Malenko. So the next night, on the July 8th episode of WCW Monday Nitro, Mysterio defeats Malenko to win his first Cruiserweight Championship. And he reigned as champion for about 3 months leading into Halloween Havoc. Mm-hmm. And here we are.
Yeah. It's funny to think about because Ray and Eddie was the champ going in. So this time it's kind of roles reversed. Ray gets to be the champ going into this match against Dean Malenko. And they already have that story built up. And Mike Knay tells us all about it.
He gives us all the backstory we need.
But I do have one complaint. And that is a subpar title graphic.
Yeah,
at
it's
the
like
beginning of this thing.
done.
Oh, I don't even remember it.
Exactly, you don't. It wasn't great. That's my only complaint.
That's what it does.
Did they actually show the belt?
No, it was just the words WCW
Cruiserweight.
Cruiserweight.
Yeah,
It goes whoosh.
Because that
Blinking
belt
him is
is
gorgeous.
That belt is a thing of beauty.
Love it. Yeah, love it. Remember Eddie's pants that he wore that kind of resembled the belt in
yeah.
97? Yeah, so good.
Good reason.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So before we get into the match itself, a while back, there was an interview where Malenko spoke to WWE about one of his best matches. And he would say the night he defended his Cruiserweight Championship against Rey Mysterio in the debut. And he thinks back to that match. And he said that was such a special night for me because Rey was an opponent I always wanted to work against in the ring. I asked the offices of WCW if they could bring him in for a shot at my Cruiserweight Championship because it was a match that I anticipated having a lot of fun with. I love when two styles clash, Rey bringing a Lucha Libre style and a very impactful, aerially talented guy, and myself being more of a mat technician. The two innovative lightweights just missed each other in ECW, so it would have been, could you imagine if they would have clashed in ECW?
Right.
It was like, throw some chairs in there.
Right.
Because Malenko left in August of 95, Mysterio arrived the following month. But in WCW, the Cruiserweight Championship had recently been revived, right? Malenko is actually only the second champion in that iteration. But Malenko goes on to say, what really stands out about that night was the guys in the back being really disappointed seeing Rey. They thought that he was really small, very young, which we kind of laugh at now. But it ended up being one of the only times in 20-some-odd years of being in the business that I walked back into the dressing room and my peers stood on their feet applauding this guy's ability and what he did that night. It was a really neat scene for me, and to see it definitely welcome Rey into the fold of WCW. It was a great moment and one that I cherish very highly. So high praise from the Man of 1,000 Holds right off the bat. And this was before the match that we're talking about now.
That's a little bit crazy in such a good way, right? But it speaks to not only how good they are together in the ring, but the respect that they ultimately will have for each other. And that's why a rivalry like this works, because they're able to grow each other in the best ways.
Oh, definitely.
And we see that. This match is different than the one they have the first time when Rey comes in and gets a title shot. So it's really, really fun, and I'm really glad we're covering it because there's a lot to break down.
You know what really gave me hope whenever I saw their entrances?
What's that?
Elvis lives, guys.
Oh,
Elvis lives.
Elvis does live. One of the gravestones says so, and who am I to argue?
The set for Halloween Havoc.
It's a treat.
It
is
so good.
I just love like the demon goblin child that's in like every single one of them.
Yeah.
And so they have these series of gravestones.
And they all have random shit on them.
And the one that says Elvis.
Underneath it says lives.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's the best. We also get the Slim Jim turnbuckles again, which is super. You gotta love the Slim Jim turnbuckle.
Not just turnbuckles, like they have Slim Jim branding on every corner. And every time, like I said before, every time they mention Halloween Havoc, this is Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc.
When Malenko makes his entrance, he's carrying Rey Mysterio's mask.
Yes.
Because he had previously stolen it, right? So that's part of the story that Mike today gets to tell us, is Malenko has Rey Mysterio's mask and actually plays a part in the match kind of as we get into the early going of it. But Rey Mysterio, you know what I love about Rey Mysterio in this era is the question mark. Right, like he's got it on his armbands, and he's kind of come back to that a little bit now.
The man of mystery,
but it's a lot of fun. It's perfect for his name. As we get going here, Malenko gets the early advantage.
Well, he immediately just does a backdrop and starts putting the boots to Rey.
Yeah,
and then within 30 seconds, we have a cloverleaf attempt.
Yeah,
like and this one early.
Well, it's really fun to watch because Dean actually early on goes for his leg, and Rey just hops over him. It's like he's so quick. And Dean goes for a cravat takedown, which he uses like perfect at doing a cravat takedown. But Rey just front flips through it, and it's not even like a forward roll. He just literally front flips like a quick boop. How in the world?
Like the reversals in the opening like minute are so quick. It's like blinking, you will miss them.
Yeah, and for us who are trying to break this thing down for you guys, it's pause, rewind, start over again repeatedly. Because it is blink and you'll miss it.
But I gotta say though, that tilt-a-whirl into a head scissor, which gets turned into a very deep arm drag. Like, okay, here we go.
Yeah,
we're 60 seconds in,
and it's perfect because you see it starts off. The first thing that happens is the attempted Texas Cloverleaf, and then the next thing you know, Rey Mysterio is flying throughout the air, tossing Dean Malenko around the ring. So you see front and center this clash of styles and
as soon
what
as it
each
starts.
man's strategy is going to be going in.
Well, we get within a minute of this match, we get two death-defying tope suicidas. After the second one, the first one's kind of scary. The second one's like, okay, there we go. After the second one, Ray just switches masks in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, he takes the mask that Malenko had brought to the ring, and he's like, I'm taking it back, right? And so in the middle of the ring, he switches, which is crazy, the fact that he does that at all. But Mike Tenay says it's the same mask, the second one, it's the same mask that Ray wore when he won the Cruiserweight title.
Yeah, so it means a lot to him.
Yeah, so it means a lot to him, and maybe it'll bring him the luck that he needs to defend it successfully.
Man, that springboard moonsault
Ooh,
that Ray hits early
King
on.
of beauty.
It's gorgeous, but he's caught in the middle of it. And so he can't follow up with it. Mysterio then escapes Dean's clutches and mounts Dean's shoulders, but Dean flips him over and is about to powerbomb him. And this is very reminiscent of how Malenko won their first match against each other at Great American Bash. But it's not enough at this time.
We get a Hurricanrana to a jackknife cover. Ooh. Sorry, that's how I used to win matches.
This is how Paul
That's
reacts
good.
to jackknife covers.
I like that a lot.
They just have an unbelievable series right here.
I also noticed that at this point, Malenko has not used the same hold twice.
Nope.
No.
He decides he wants to focus in on in their first match. He wanted to focus in on the arm, and he had about 10,000 different ways to torture the arm. In this one, it's all about the back.
The back.
Yep.
Oh man, he does this. I thought he was gonna go for the cloverleaf here, but no, he does like this really sick, like modified bow and arrow lock on the side, locks the leg, and okay, he's got like almost like a single Boston crab. No, then he grabs that arm, and then he pushes that shin into the lower of Ray's back and starts wrenching and pulling, and I'm like, dear Lord, stop! You're gonna kill him.
Well, yeah. I mean, Ray's back is taken to the woodshed in this one, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
he gets a bow and arrow. There are back breakers, camel clutches. There's one point where Malenko's using the apron and the grapevines, you name it.
One of my favorite parts of this bit where he's focusing on the back is Ray goes for a head scissors, and during Ray's spin, Malenko catches him and drops him into a side slam.
Looks like it hurt like hell.
It did,
too.
and that impact.
Well, because
but
you have
it
the
was great.
momentum. You have the momentum of Ray spinning over, and
Yep.
Dean used that against him to slam him into the ring. I mean, you can hear it, and you can see the agony in Ray's face. Ray's selling is on point in this one.
And not to be done by that, Malenko does a super backplex. And then he locks him into a fucking triangle hold and then does the stiffest brain buster in the history of wrestling.
It was so stiff. What's interesting is Malenko seems he's rough in this match.
Yeah.
And you can tell. And it's not just from the stiff brainbuster and from these submission holds that are really tough. At one moment, he goes for like the slingshot onto the ropes, the suplex slingshot,
like
but he
Ray
doesn't
lands
drop
on
Ray on his stomach.
He's on his knees.
He lands on his knees on that top rope.
Oh, and you mentioned before how he does the camel clutch. I referred to it as the Malenko recliner.
Hey, I like that.
And boy, does Dean have heat when he puts that on.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, for sure.
Ooh, they start booing.
It seems like this really cool story that I like that's going on in the first half and into the second half of the match is every time Rey Mysterio tries to pick up the pace and tries to start flipping all over the ring and tries to springboard, Malenko just stops him in his
He's
tracks.
got an answer.
He's got an answer, and he brings him right back to the mat.
Oh god, there's one point he's building up a head of steam, and Malenko just like locks in this sleeper and immediately falls on his back and does the grapevines, and then we get an amazing call from Bobby Brainian. Whoop, siesta time there. That's bye Chico. I'm like, ooh, Bobby, don't say that.
They're telling the story. Mike Tenay is talking about how, as Cruiserweight champ, Rey Mysterio has gotten a busier schedule. It's a big deal that he won the Cruiserweight title. And so he's been to, X amount of shows in 2 weeks and he's tired. And so they're kind of telling that story about why maybe Dean Malenko has the advantage early on. And Bobby, that's this great line. He's so tired he can't grow hair.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio has a shaved head at this point. And around this point, I noticed in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, Bill Apter taking pictures, and I could not pay attention to anything else.
That's right. It was an interesting crowd. Guy with a top hat in the front row.
I thought it was Gene Simmons until he stood up. Like, oh, no, he's got a beard. Like, they're in Vegas.
Papa Shango shirt in the front, which was interesting.
What the fuck was that about?
Why not?
Yeah, whatever. It's
Like 4 years too late, buddy.
1996. It is 4 years too late.
But do y'all remember the flip senton on Malenko to the outside? Ray literally, he gets so much distance on this thing, and it's like it's absolutely flawless.
Yeah, and it's it's a move that he had done in their first go around, but he hits it so much better this time.
Oh yeah.
It's so. I'm trying to think of the right word I would use. Artistic might be a word I use.
I think so. It's a good
word. That's how it's just fresh. And
Oh
so
yeah.
clean.
And
I like it a
so
lot.
when we come back into the ring, Ray attempts a victory roll, but that sucker is blocked. And then to quote Bobby Heenan once again, we get about 806 moves by both men here, like because they can't keep up because it's like reverse, power bomb.
Get your power bomb.
Streak
in.
continues. We also get, and something that Paul and I've talked about, and I think we've all talked about it on the show, is how much we love an Eddie Guerrero tilt-a-whirl backbreaker.
Oh, it's
I think the
flawless.
one that Dean does is even stiffer.
But not to be outdone, Dean Malenko hits that tilt-a-whirl backbreaker on Ray. And maybe this whole time it's just been Rey Mysterio taking the tilt-a-whirl. That's so good. I don't know what it is, but ultimately it's gorgeous, and it looks like Ray bends in half.
It does. He does bend in half.
Rey Mysterio is able to do some things with his body that are just not fair. So there's one point where Ray gets up and starts spinning around Malenko, as he does, and it looks like there's one point where he was going to go for a head scissors or a Rana, but he stops himself in midair and just rolls forward and does a victory roll. And
Yes.
it's like, I did not see that coming from the way he was moving.
Oh, no. And not to be outdone by that, he does a fucking springboard corkscrew moonsault to the outside.
Why not?
Yeah.
Completely, they overshoot the pads and land on the concrete.
Whenever Dean gets him back in the ring, one of the things that Dean does to try and slow the momentum of Mysterio is he puts on a standing sleeper.
Yep.
Did you notice how much space Dean leaves between his body and Ray's when he puts on the sleeper? You don't see a lot of people do that. And what it does is it allows you to actually kind of sink in a little bit deeper and get a little bit further under the throat, right? Because if you're right there on top of him, you're just kind of on top of each other. But if you use that leverage...
So what you get when that happens is you get Ray, instead of standing straight up, he's leaned back.
Yep.
And that's how you get that lock really cinched in. And
one-
you're absolutely right. It's something it's a minor thing, but it makes all the difference.
It's one of those things where it almost entices Ray to struggle. And Bobby Heenan puts it best: the more you struggle, the faster you go out.
Yep.
Yeah,
So maybe that's what he wants him to do. But out of nowhere, we get what I refer to as the jump scare Hurricane Rana. Just out of nowhere, Hurricane Rana. I'm like, oh God, here we go. Ray goes for another one. Nope, sit out power bomb.
Dean Malenko's arm trap suplexes
Oh, they're so quick.
are brutal.
And they're just beautiful.
They look so painful.
It's because they are.
Yep,
It's
I
because they
wouldn't
are.
want to take
they're
one.
real, man. It's real.
But
And-
Dean goes for a second tilt-a-whirl backbreaker at one point, and Ray just turns in midair and lands on top of Dean instead.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's like holy shit.
They are going back and forth, back and forth. It looks like Malenko's got control until Rey Mysterio, slips out of his grasp and does something high, high octane and high risk. And, as to be expected, this match kind of ends on the top rope.
Yeah, they go to the top rope, and I'm like, they're looking kind of shaking. Oh, what the hell are they doing? Ray attempts to do a Hurricane Rana, which is, as we remember, is how he beat Eddie Guerrero. But Dean says, nope, I think I'm going to do a top rope gut wrench power bomb. And I stood up and said, fuck yeah. The gut wrench power bomb was my finish.
It sure
Fuck
was.
yeah.
It
And
sure
that
was.
wins Dean Malenko the Cruiserweight title.
Wow. So the gut wrench and then the jackknife cover. I mean, listen, Dean Malenko, your guy.
Yeah, and I actually noticed one point. So we actually get two different variations of a jackknife cover in this match. And we get jackknife covers very rarely, it seems, nowadays. So it's
So we
kinda
love it
really,
when we see it.
It's
Yeah.
really fresh to see.
I don't think people know how to do them anymore.
But yeah, I mean, you had flawless flip sentons everywhere. You had flawless backbreakers and arm trap suplexes. There's everything you could possibly want as a wrestling fan is in this match.
Fuck me, this match is good.
I haven't heard that one in a while
I know,
either.
right?
Yeah, that's good. Tony Schiavone says, you're not going to find a better opening bout on a pay-per-view telecast anywhere than what we just witnessed.
Hard to argue.
He's correct, because in 96, the opening contests of WWF matches were notoriously not very good. They're usually just go out there and do what we tell you to do in 5 minutes, and it doesn't get over, and then they blame the performers.
Awesome. So fun.
Such is 1996 WWF.
Hey, boy, this was fun, though. This was fun.
Oh,
Dean
yeah, it's a
Malenko, Rey
blast.
Mysterio. I mean, we could do a whole spinoff last WCW Cruiserweight Championship match standing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many good ones. So it felt like this match. Listen, on a poll, by the way, that was full of incredible matches. We did a Twitter poll, and there was 4 matches that were very diverse, but all that deserved to make the list. And this one edged it out. And with a good reason, so super glad we were able to cover it. And I guess I have to ask favorite moments. What do you think? What
The gut
stood out?
wrench superplex. The gut wrench powerbomb off the top rope. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I think the moment that Ray decides to come back inside while Dean is in the middle of the ring, Ray hits this flip senton that is just flawless. It looks, it looks like he's weightless.
Yeah,
Because he is.
Yeah, just about. I think what I appreciate is the attention to detail from Dean Malenko.
Yeah.
And how strategic he is in keeping Rey Mysterio off the ropes. And I think that's so. It's just. It's easy to tell the story about Rey Mysterio likes to jump. Let's make sure he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But the way
him grounded.
The way Malenko does it, though, is very intentional and very legitimate, and it's just something that I super appreciate.
Talk about an underrated guy.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Oh, Dean? Hell yeah.
And they describe him in the match as no nonsense, right?
Yep.
And that's absolutely right. He was the Iceman. He was the Iceman. And it was just one of those things that he could wrestle with anybody on the planet. He just could. The only thing that I guess would you say that Dean Malenko was held back? Did he underachieve? What's
I
your
think
kind of
so.
thoughts?
I think
on
Dean
those?
Malenko never got a fair shake. WCW, they knew how to use him, but they wouldn't let him go beyond cruiserweight. And by the time he comes to WWF 4 years later, oh, you're the ladies' man. I'm like, really? You're gonna give him a ladies' man gimmick? His whole personality is that he's so intense and he's the Iceman. He's made of 1,000 holds, and you're gonna give him that gimmick?
That was not the right gimmick for him. I would rather have seen him go like a full amateur wrestling gimmick. I would love to have seen a WrestleMania main event of Kurt Angle versus Dean Malenko.
I was just thinking, can you imagine him and Kurt? They would have destroyed any arena anytime.
Or Malenko and Owen. I would love to have seen that.
Well,
I know, it's so sad.
It is. It's a super big bummer. I'm just curious because Dean Malenko is a guy that, it's to casual wrestling fans, he's the guy that was good, but you haven't seen much of his stuff, which I think is very interesting because it's more than worth watching any of his matches because they're just so good and it's different than a lot of what you see, especially in his weight class. So. The clashing of styles here between Ray and Dean Malenko is enough to keep you focused on the match because even though it's 18 minutes, it's not like Eddie and Ray where they're flying all over the ring for 12 minutes, and this one has a slower pace to it, but it makes sense in kind of in the frame of the story, and I think that's a good thing.
Oh, I agree, absolutely.
And now it's time to rank it.
Oh,
yeah, this is the part where normally we complain that we have to do this. And I, for some reason, feel okay about it. I have no idea where you guys are going to be, but
okay.
I don't know where I'm going to be either.
But good. Well, since you're so excited about it, why don't you go first?
Great. Thank you. I talked myself into this corner, and I totally regret it. First things first. If I'm going to compare it to anything on the list, I'm going to compare it to Halloween Havoc 1997, Eddie and Ray.
That's the first place I went to.
Yeah, and this is lower than that, ultimately.
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's a superior match, and
Sure.
I think that has to do with just the fact that it felt like those two just worked perfectly together, and that was lightning in a bottle. It's never going to be replicated.
Yeah, agreed. So bump that down a list. So
Well, I think the next logical thing to say would be, does it make the top 10? It's obviously not in the top 8.
10, I don't think so.
So we're looking at John Cena and Shawn Michaels being the guardian of the top 10. It doesn't quite do it for me.
Yeah,
there.
I think they successfully defend the top 10.
Okay.
I agree with that. So, I mean, let's go down to top 20 just to kind of think it broad.
Sure.
Number 20 is Jushin Thunder Liger and the Great Muta.
Same year? Around the same... Oh, my God. They're in the same day?
October 1996, New Japan.
Wow.
Oh, gosh. There's that notebook of mine way over there that I don't know.
But yeah, same month, if not the same day. Wow.
You know,
that would be crazy.
that is really interesting. What do you think, though? Do you think that this match passes that
Liger
one out?
Muta?
So I think Liger Muta is a really good number 20 as a guardian of the top 20 because that match is so iconic and means so much to wrestling.
And is 7 days before this match.
Okay, so we looked it up. 7 days.
7 days.
While we were discussing that, I thought, you know what? I know the perfect spot for this. I would put this right behind the 1992 Royal Rumble match.
You'd put it at 22?
Yeah, right above Mike Awesome and Tanaka and right behind Royal Rumble match.
Well, here we are trying to kind of break it down, and you're just decisive, and I appreciate that about you, Paul. You just said, this is what it's going to be. 22.
That's where I would put it.
Interesting. I would actually go lower than that.
Really?
I would probably put it. Oh God, you know where I actually would put it is 29.
Really? You
Yeah.
put it under Kurt and Shane?
I put it right above Kurt.
I'm sorry,
and Shane.
right above.
Yeah, right
You'd
above.
put it right
Kurt.
above Kurt and Shane?
Yeah, and right below the world's cutest tag team and the Young Bucks.
Okay.
That's where I would put it, and I feel like I need to shield myself from the tomatoes or something.
I don't think you need to
way.
shield anything. It's a great match. There were moments when I'm like, man, I feel like they could do a little bit more. And they do a lot more. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know what it is for me. And I kind of was...
This almost feels like a match that should have gone on a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they had 5 more minutes?
Yeah, I think part of what it was, and I was trying to frame it in my mind, because there's no standout moment to me that screams like, oh, that's new, and that's fresh, and that's wow. But I don't think that a match has to have that to be considered one of the greatest of all time.
Sure. I agree.
That's what I have to keep telling myself. I do think it's a clinic. I think they do an incredible job. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't click for me. There's something that doesn't click, and I haven't quite figured out what it is yet, but that's where I'm at right now.
So
The referee.
I would agree that it...
You said the referee?
The referee.
It is. It's his fault.
Why not? Just blame the
His
referee.
shirt's too large.
His posture.
I would agree that it doesn't quite make it to the top 20 for me. I think Liger and Muta put on a better performance overall. Doing the crawl down, 21 Royal Rumble. It's just such a huge match. How do you top that with this? I mean, I think I would go down so far as to put it at number 25 above CM Punk and The Undertaker from WrestleMania 29. I think that match, it set out to accomplish some of the things that this one did, so it seems fair to compare in that you have two clashing styles and you have someone trying to overcome seemingly unsurmountable odds. But this one accomplishes a little bit more as far as actual technical wrestling ability and some oh shit pops from me.
Well, I do think that technically, of course, this match beats it, but I think storytelling-wise, Punk Undertaker beats it.
Well, you did have the mask at play.
Yeah.
You had them building the cruiserweight division from the ground up. I think there's a little bit of importance that goes with that for me solidifies it as number 25.
I agree with that. The word, and I feel a little bit bad about this next word I'm going to say, but it's the word that just flashed my mind when I was thinking about it. And this is kind of the word that I think describes this match for me. Forgettable.
You think?
You think this is forgettable?
It's forgettable to me, and I don't know what it is. And maybe I think this is part of the issue with.
All right, everybody. This is at Spencer Hunt.
Yeah, you can. It's fine. It's fine. I think this is part of the problem with because I'll also spell my name wrong, so it's totally fine. The problem I think with watching almost exclusively the greatest matches of all time is that sometimes you're a little underwhelmed with what you see because we're used to watching all these incredible, phenomenal matches that we have to research for. So when I'm looking at this list and I look at rewatchability and I look at things that stand out and pop out to me, these other ones stand out to me more. I think I would put it maybe underneath Undertaker CM Punk at 26, but I do also appreciate the importance part of things, and I think that should be noted and should be worth it. I would be okay putting it at 25, right above CM Punk Undertaker, because of that important note that you said there. I do think this match deserves a spot on the list. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to say like this is trash.
We wouldn't have reviewed it and taken the research if we didn't think it belonged.
Right. I just, for me, out of 31 matches now, it's just not my favorite of the 31.
Understandable.
Which is totally fine. Paul, how do you feel about 25? Do you think that's 25? Too low, too high?
No, that's a little bit lower than I would have put it, but a little bit higher than you would have put it. So I think that's fair, like right in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah, it is. 22, 29, and 25. I think that's probably pretty fair.
Yeah.
So there you have it. And 25 is my favorite number, just as a general note.
But not WrestleMania 25.
No.
Just
give it some time.
It'll be interesting to see if this remains at 25 or if things move.
Yeah, because I do think that putting it right next to CM Punk Undertaker is a really interesting, divide.
It really is.
There. So I don't know what's going to go in between that. I think that's fascinating. Hey, listen, that was kind of hard.
That was tough.
That was very tough.
I don't think I liked it too much.
That was intense, but not as intense as the Iceman himself.
That's right. And listen, if you are mad at me for my opinion, you can absolutely reach out to me on Twitter, and you can do that at LANDON _
Hey,
LMS. That's my Twitter.
No,
feel free to.
You're an ass.
Oh, man. So 31 matches in. We're almost a third of the way through. We are officially into the second half of season 2.
Yep.
Already. I feel like the second season is just a whirlwind. It's just flying by.
Well, we've got some really good matches so far. So I'm really excited to see where we go in the rest of season 2 and then even season 3.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really good. And hey, we finally broke the mold of ranking it around 15. I think we did that.
It's only 3 in a row.
3 in a row. But we're out of that, so that's kind of nice. But the powerbomb streak continues, which is phenomenal.
There were 2 in this match, and it makes up for not being one in the previous match, so the streak carries on. Look, powerbombs don't lie.
Those are the rules.
Guaranteed the next match will have at least 4 powerbombs in it.
He's guaranteeing. So that means we have to put up Twitter polls.
We got to find a match
with
all
power
bomb matches. Who does a power bomb as a finish? We're only doing badass.
We're only doing Diesel
American
matches.
Badass.
We're gonna do American Badass. We could do Diesel versus Psycho Sid. They both do power bombs.
There would be 4 power bombs in that one.
What if we did one Brock Lesnar match when he used to do the 3 power bombs back?
His debut triple power bomb.
Yeah, see,
that's 3 right there. So as long as he does that twice, we're good.
You know who else does that move? Chris Jericho does the triple powerbomb.
I bet if we find a Jericho Mysterio match, he'll do the double powerbomb 4 times, and there'll be 8 powerbombs. And here we go.
Actually, there is a Chris Jericho versus Rey Mysterio match that could go on this list.
I completely agree with that.
Is there at least 2 powerbombs?
I don't know. I haven't watched it in a while.
We'll have to check it out. In the meantime, send more match suggestions via Twitter, via our email, which is lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. Please, please, please. We love the feedback. We would love to hear more from our fans. And I've never done the send off before, so I'm doing a very good job.
You were doing great, actually. I was like, it's kind of cozy over here.
I know, right?
To it. That was really good.
So episode number 31 in the books.
Until next time.
I'm Paul.
I'm Spencer.
I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.